Hello, this is Wissam Zarqa. In this session about developing speaking skills, the topic is serious topic. It's about science, but the topics in this unit are science fiction. By the way, this is unit 7. I didn't cover unit 6 because it's already somehow covered in unit 5. So I didn't think that there is something very important to cover there from the book master class, IELTS master class. Let's start. So the task today is task 3, in fact, abstract ideas. These are the tips already explained. Here we have some reading, and the discussion is about the ideas here. Let's read them quickly to get an idea about them, about the ideas, about the topics. A high proportion of employers appear to favor genetic testing of employees. So the employers prefer genetic testing, DNA, such similar things, of employees, of people who work for them. The aim is to identify workers at risk of developing job-related illnesses and those likely to suffer from heart diseases who may retire early. So what is the goal of this? To identify the workers at risk who might develop job-related illnesses, who might have some medical problems related to the jobs they will do, and those who might suffer from heart diseases, and that would make them retire early. This is science fiction. This idea is not applied, but it's possible anyway. And all the other ideas the same, are just scientific fiction. They might be applied, but they are not now anyway. So here we should talk about advantages, disadvantages, and maybe we can talk about moral issues, unexpected consequences. The most important thing, usually the question is about advantages and disadvantages. For example, here, the book gives some suggested answers. The benefits could save money in the long run because, employers would not need to spend money on employees who might retire early, who might need medical care and such things. Drawbacks, which means disadvantages, negative things. Employees may resent it, may hate it. Sure, they will not like it. To be tested about a disease that you don't have now, but you may have in the future. Too much. Moral issues, it will lead to a new form of discrimination. So it's not black and white anymore, or Arab, non-Arab. No, it's about your genetic testing. Unexpected consequences, it will create a new job, maybe for those people who do these tests. So these are examples. This is only main ideas, but when you answer such a question, you should mention more details, in fact. Not only mention one idea or one sentence. You should be able to give examples. The second idea is artificial intelligence. About artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is on its way. It means it's coming. Currently, now, a small personal computer has about the same power as insect's brain, maybe a fly or ant. On present trends, it means if things continue like that, however, within 15 years, a small PC will have as much computing power as a human brain. I guess this book was written 15 years ago, so it's already like that. Here, maybe when you talk about advantages and disadvantages, we should talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, how useful it is, and what might be the drawbacks, the disadvantages. Like some people would lose their jobs and such things. Okay, there are a lot of ideas to mention here. The third idea, studies on mice indicated that increasing the metabolic rate and eliminating free radicals from the body made them live significantly longer. So, usually we have studies on mice and sometimes on monkeys, showed that increasing the metabolic rate, the processes in which the cells get rid of the waste. This is an important something in biology, this metabolic rate. And body, all the cells, every cell will get rid of one way or another of the waste. And eliminating, also getting rid free radicals, something in the body, made them live significantly longer. Significantly, it means to a great deal longer. And applied to humans, it means if this is applied to humans, the increased lifespan would mean an extra 30 years of life. So here the idea, what happens if by science we could live more 30 years? Let's say the average is, the lifespan usually is 60, it would become 90. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of this? Again, we can talk about many things. What it means, we have many older people, what's good about it, what's bad about it. I notice many students talk about positive things, negative things, but there is a very important positive idea no one mentions usually, that you will have a chance to spend more time with your beloved ones. I guess this is an important idea here you can mention anyway. So you can think of emotional things, not only scientific and 1+1. Something of the disadvantages or moral issues, maybe only rich people can have this possibility. So the poor would die early, the rich will live longer. Just a suggestion, you can mention any ideas. The fourth idea, scientists may one day be able to reduce the power of hurricanes, hurricanes, like storms, or so might be able to reduce, make less, or have them or move them into a different course. So they are coming to this city, you can just make them go to the desert or to the ocean, for example. This could be done by changing the temperatures in and around the hurricanes. So the suggested idea here, you just try to change the temperature so that they will change their direction. How can we change the temperatures? Again, the passage suggests possibly using solar power beamed in from orbiting satellites. So the satellites around the Earth might control the solar power and beam it, send it to these hurricanes to change their direction maybe. So the main idea here, if we can control hurricanes or make them weaker, what are the advantages, the disadvantages? Can mention something about it. The last idea is about stem cells that could be taken from a human ovary and re-implemented many years later. Especially we say human ovary, we are talking about women, especially when ovary, it's responsible for having children, This would enable a woman to freeze the cells when she is young, with the option of giving birth when she is much older, possibly in her 60s. So the main idea here, can women freeze these cells and have their children later? So what are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? As you see, all of them are interesting ideas, not easy to talk about. Here, to talk about these ideas, to say if you agree or disagree, you can use some such expressions. For example, agreeing, you say, I think it is good idea because. I guess it's a good idea because it saves money. I guess it's a good idea because if women can get married at early age, they can have children later anyway. If women are busy with their work and education, they will still have the chance to have children later. Talk about hurricanes, for example, which would save a lot of lives, such things. We can say there is a lot to be said for it. For it, it means to agree with it. For instance, and you mentioned something. This is for arguing for, it means agreeing. Arguing against, which is disagreeing, I'm completely against it because blah, blah, blah. Because the generation gap would become much bigger between generations, such as between the parents and the children. I'm totally against it, but I'm completely against it because countries might use this as a weapon. I mean, hurricanes, this idea anyway. There are too many drawbacks, dangers, such as. So we can mention like this. There are too many drawbacks or dangers, such as we will have an old community. We talk about increasing the lifespan, for example, and we will not have enough people, young people, to work, to do the work that should be done, such things. Now we come to the third idea, which is hedging, which is a very important idea. Hedging, if you are not familiar with this idea, it means trying to protect yourself. Don't say completely agree, don't say completely disagree. This is too direct. Try just to protect, like hedge is like a fence for protecting yourself. Try to say, I'm not sure. You could say, but you could say it's a good idea, but also, sir, there are some disadvantages. For example, like this. It's hard to say. One way of looking at it is that it might be useful for the business, whatever. But if you consider the humanitarian side, it's really dangerous. So you can use this hedging language. It might make your ideas more accepted. So it's very important, whatever the language you are using, to learn how to use hedging. So these expressions are suggested by the book. You can use them. I added also some expressions taken from another course, from Skillful course. Here, adverbs of stance. What do you mean by adverbs of stance? They can be used to enhance or imply your attitude toward issue, source, or a line of argument. Choosing the best adverb to accurately express your opinion is an important part of academic writing, but here I'm more concerned about speaking. Let's see these adverbs. Arguably, you use it when you want to say that you know that not all people argue with that. Agree with that. Some people don't agree, but I believe in it anyway. So you say just to say, yeah, I know this is not okay for all people, but I'm convinced. So it's just to make your opinion stronger one way or another. Equally, you mention something and then you say equally. You say, for example, life in the city has got many advantages. Equally, life in the countryside is not bad at all. So to mention two ideas, so first you mention an idea, then you say equally, which means the second idea is also as important as the first idea or as valid as the first idea. The third one, essentially, which means something important, something basic. Let's say, essentially, we have the same ideas, but we don't always agree with each other, whatever. So essentially, it means something basic or important. We will see how they explain it here in the book. Fundamentally, it's similar to essentially. It means basically. Highly, we use it like the adverb very. We say highly appreciated. Highly important, let's say. Inevitably, it means something can't be stopped. Inevitably, all of us will die. You know, so you say something you are sure that will happen and or can't stop, let's say. Realistically, just to say this is possible. Logically, realistically, life in Syria is difficult because of the services and the security issues. So you can say it this way. Unquestionably, it means I am sure about it. No question about it. Unquestionably. Let's try matching them. So A used to say that something cannot be avoided or prevented. We said this is inevitably. B, used for emphasizing what is the most important aspect of something or fact about something. Maybe this is essentially. C, used to say what is likely in a situation, realistically. This is likely possible. D, in a very important or basic way, I guess fundamentally, as I've said, essentially and fundamentally are really similar. Fundamentally, sorry. E, used to show that something is obvious and leaves no room for doubt. Said it's unquestionably. F, used to introduce an idea as important as the last. So we say equally. This is equally. G, used for stating your opinion or belief, especially when you think other people may disagree. We said this is arguably. H, used before some adjectives to mean very, or to a large degree, this is highly. So these are the adverbs that are very important if you use one or two of them in your speech. Don't overuse them. Don't use too many, of them. In writing, the same. In writing, it's possible to use more because somehow they are formal, let's say. And speaking, if you say, for example, inevitably, essentially, equally, that would make your speaking much, much better. When you talk about IELTS exam, yeah, that can move you from 6 to 8, I believe. Not all of them, but they can help a lot. I mean, the mark will become higher. Number 1, for example, why the theory is okay. I will not. There are more practice. In fact, I'm not sure if we should have them in the record or not. Maybe I just can have it this way. Okay, and maybe you can freeze and try the answers. They are, as I've told you, these are examples about how to apply them. Some tips, you don't start a sentence, for example, equally, you need to have an idea before then you say equally. This is just like a tip about how to use it. The others might be used. It depends on how to use them. So let's stop it for now. And thanks for watching. I hope it was useful.